Today we're going to be talking about life in Japan. In the fall of 2020, I will actually be studying abroad in Tokyo. First, we're going to talk about the work life in Japan and what some of the positives and negatives are. People are very polite in Japan and they want to be pleasant and non-confrontational. Usually Japanese like working with others and collaborating with others, so teamwork is a big part of the work life. Teamwork usually extends outside the company with a lot of socializing, usually over drinks. The ability to execute, as a result of planning and attention to detail, companies are very good with following through with the plan. Some of the negatives are they have a hard time of saying no, and this is a source of frustration from outsiders. There's a lack of positive feedback from managers. Instead, they tend to have a laser focus on what needs to be improved. It takes a long time for anything to be done. The carefulness and planning and conscientious orientated decision making discussed makes creating anything long and drawn out. They are slow to change. They have a tendency to stick to the status quo and avoid any changes. Now we're going to talk about some of the differences between Japanese culture and Japan. No eating or drinking on the go. People find it rude to eat or drink while walking. So if you buy food from a food vendor, usually you'll see people go to a park bench or sit somewhere and eat. PDA is highly frowned upon. America falls somewhere in the middle of the international PDA spectrum, but Japan views PDA as a bit stuffy. Hygiene is very important. In a densely populated country where space is so precious, hygiene customs are extremely important. Japanese people shower every day, and they shower before they take a bath. Punctuality is down to the second. Showing up even a few seconds late can be interpreted as very disrespectful. There are very few trash cans in public in Tokyo. If you have something that has garbage, you most likely will have to carry it around until you get back to your house. Now we're going to talk about Japan and Hofstade's 6 dimensions of culture. So their power distance score is at a 54. So this is a borderline hierarchical society. And there is no one top guy who makes a decision. Their individualism scale is a 46, so they are more like a collectivistic society where they put the harmony of the group above the expression of the individual. And people have a strong sense of shame for losing face. Japan is one of the most masculine societies in the world with a score of 95. However, combined with their mild collectivism, you do not see the assertiveness and competition where you would usually see it in a masculine culture. Uncertainty avoidance is at a 92, and this most likely is due to the natural disasters that they usually face, like earthquakes, tsunamis, typhoons, to volcano eruptions. Long-term orientation, at an 88, Japan scores one of the most long-term orientated societies. Japanese see their life as a very short moment in a long history of mankind. Indulgence, with a low score of 42, this culture shows a lot of restraint. Societies with a low score in this dimension tend to have cynicism and pessimism. Now we're going to talk about culture shock and some of the effects of culture shock. There is extreme homesickness and avoiding social situations. People tend to have physical complaints and sleep difficulties. They also have difficulties with coursework and an inability to concentrate, becoming angry over mild irritations, and significant nervousness or exhaustion. The 5 phases of culture shock are: first, the honeymoon phase, where everything is new and exciting. Next, the cultural crisis. You are irritated by your surroundings and feel misunderstood. Next is the low point. You're lonely, homesick, and annoyed. Next is the vital learning curve. This is the acceptance, adjustment, and integration. Curiosity and positive thinking is back. Recognition of good traits of new culture and starts to feel like home. Lastly is the re-entry shock. You are sad to leave, and the realization that home culture is now foreign to you since you've been living in a different type of society. Now we're going to talk about how you could cope with change. You need to realize that culture is relative. You must also be mind open and curious about different aspects of the society you're moving into. You must use your observation skills to adapt to any situations you might be put in. You must ask questions, whether that be in class or outside of class. It's okay to experience anxiety, especially when you're in a new type of society. You need to give yourself permission to make mistakes and learn from those without being set back too much. You need to take care of your physical health, and you need to be patient and don't try to understand everything immediately. I need to realize that when I'm in Japan, the individual isn't as important as the group. So I need to focus on my image and make sure I'm not doing anything deemed as inappropriate as it could affect those who are around me. And I need to be open minded and curious about the new aspects of this culture. And I need to give myself permission to make mistakes since Japanese is one of the most hardest languages to learn. And actually, Japanese is the fastest spoken language in the whole world at the moment. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening for my presentation about Japanese life.